And there we go. I think we have our saves in place. We're ready to roll. Just gonna pull this up real quick. Load. Good luck, you jabroni. Welcome in, Critically Lit and Raiders. Thank you very much for the raid. It's great to have you here. I think I got all the saves. I think I got the saves. Is it good luck? Yeah, jabroni. Is that the one? Welcome in, Raiders. It's great to have you all. Thank you so much for joining me for this awesome event, Save and Raid. And big shout out to Arjun Havoc for organizing this and Bearded Boggle for organizing this. What an amazing effort they put in. And you know what? There's a lot of other unsung heroes of this. I mean, maybe they've been sung a little, but you know, there's a lot of other people who've done some amazing work for this too. So I'd like to say a big thank you to them as well. Excellent. It's great to have you all. Thank you so much for joining us. So, my name is Mike, and I am a retro variety streamer. I collect video games, as you can see. I've got a bit of a collection here. I got some of the inspirations for Legend of Grimrock sitting behind me. We can take a look at those later on, possibly. What else do I need to say? Well, we're not going to jump right into the game Legend of Grimrock just yet. Hey, thank you very much for the follow there. I appreciate that. Jester Dev, thank you so much. And Wombat Combat Prime, thank you also for the follow. So yeah, my name's Mike, and I am a retro variety streamer, and I collect video games, and I am also sort of like I do a little bit of game dev and stuff myself. I haven't made anything as cool as Legend of Grimrock, but I have a bit of fun with that stuff too. And we're going to be joined today, actually, by a couple of the developers and by oldskooljay. We're going to have a little bit of a, I guess a roundtable chat, something like that. We're just going to be talking. So if you do have some questions, feel free to use your highlight message. Thank you very much, Jay, for letting me know. Feel free to highlight a message, and that will get put into the questions channel so that Jay and I can refer to that later on when we are having a chat, and we'll try and get through them. Eve Alicia, thank you very much for the $15 donation to start with. That means we're going to take a look at a box later on. I guess we'll do that between the streams. I hadn't really thought about this. I've got 2 hours here, so I got 2 hours worth of things to fill time with. Anyway, without further ado, I think we should just jump on in. I'm going to close Legend of Grimrock right now, because it looks like we're all set, and we're ready to roll. So I'm going to close that, and we'll get started with this chat. With, like I said, we got oldskooljay here. Let me just flip over this scene here. And okay, oldskooljay's got no video on my screen. Thank you very much for the follows there. Big, tall, not small. Thank you very much. I'm just gonna unmute the Discord here.
Hi.
All right. Hello, hello. Good to see you.
Yeah, hello.
My name is Mike.
Hi.
Oh no, I'm getting some bad audio connections here.
Oh.
Why is the no hints thing showing? Alright, there we go. Captain Pilcar, thank you for that raid as well. Welcome in. Alright, Jay, how you going? You got your mic sorted out?
I'm good, yeah.
Okay.
My mic is sorted.
Okay. So can we go around and just do a quick intro of yourselves? I just introduced myself and the stream, so thank you, Dangerous Dave, for that achievement there. All right, if we, we'll just go around. I guess this way. Yeah. Is that Auntie?
Yeah, that's Auntie's correct.
And yeah.
So yeah. Hello everyone. I'm Antti Tihonen. I'm one of the developers of Legend of Grimrock 1 and 2, and on those games I work on primarily on like level design and game design in cooperation mostly with Petri, the lead programmer, and I also did the audio sound effects for the game and for the games, and I also did a little bit of graphics, mostly smaller things, since well I guess you guys got a feeling more about the graphical stuff. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And Juho?
It's juho, and
Okay. Sorry. Can I stop you for a sec? I'm getting really bad audio. I might have to disconnect and reconnect here. Sorry. I'll try and do that. Hopefully that fixes it. Just give me a moment.
Now we're good. We totally tested this earlier.
We sure did.
Sure.
We tested this thoroughly earlier.
Back.
Alright, I've just got blue circles, blue dots circling around, so hopefully that resolves itself in a second here.
I have everybody.
Great.
Okay, there we go. There's Auntie.
Okay, and I can hear you a lot better now too.
Because it's not processing video from me and Juho. There we go.
Alright, wow, thank you, Marchair, for the sub there too. Alright, I'll try and focus on the chat here. Juho, if you wanted to continue, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I'm one of the devs for Grimrock II. I'm mostly responsible for the graphic stuff. So in I did all the graphics, animations, and a couple of small stuff that I'm taking some enhanced graphics, but mostly responsible on the part.
Okay.
Hey,
I am having some serious audio issues still, so if there's anything, maybe we can drop to audio only and turn off the camera feeds. Sorry about this. Maybe that will
I'll
help.
drop my camera since everybody's seen me. That.
That is a bit better for you, Jay.
And I may as well introduce myself too. Hi, I'm oldskooljay. You guys all saw me at 4 o'clock making an absolute mockery of trying to solve a puzzle in Legend of Grimrock 1. Grimrock 1. Wow, I'm going to be doing that the whole night.
You alright, Jay?
Left off.
I think the audio, I'm still having audio issues, it sounds like.
Okay, I'm gonna try disconnecting and joining back in here.
Okay.
See if that clears up.
We did a bunch of testing this afternoon, and we finally got it working, and I don't know what's happening now.
Yeah.
We might have to turn off the video, if every party could turn off their video, perhaps, then
Sure.
maybe that'll help.
Okay, I'm back. I'm actually getting pretty clear audio from all you guys, but
Yeah, unfortunately I am not. Yeah. Juho, could you try, sorry, introduction again, just a quick one again? Sorry about this.
Me?
Yeah. No, it's still not good. Wow. Thank you very much, Refraction, for the $50 donation to Save as well. That's awesome. Really appreciate it. Okay, I don't know what to do. We could try.
you want to just boot everyone and try restarting the server? That worked when we were testing.
We could do that. We could just everyone disconnect and rejoin. That might work.
Yeah.
All right. Let's try that.
I'm getting good audio anyways, but we can disconnect.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry about this, everybody. Technical issues with Discord. It's not fun. All right. We've got. Feel free to pop those questions into the chat though, and we'll continue. Hopefully this time around, this will actually work.
Okay, how are we now?
So video on or off?
Let's try off for a minute just to see how the audio sounds.
Cool.
Let it stabilize for a minute.
Yeah. I'm getting pretty good from you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This sounds a little better to me too. Sorry about this.
No worries.
All right. All right. So I think we've all introduced ourselves. So, Auntie, the first thing that I wanted to ask you, you're one of the founders with one of the co-founders on Almost Human, and started. Your first title was Legend of Grimrock. You said you were working on some of the art, DDoS or something.
Ooh. Well, you're still coming through loud and clear in Discord, but
Okay. All right. No, my Twitch stream is bouncing up and down real bad. Like I'm getting 0 frames.
not sure what to do here.
Me
I would
either.
offer to host it on my end because I'm getting like nice clear audio from all you guys, but as soon as I start uploading, my internet will get a host.
Yeah, I think we're good now.
All right.
So hopefully, well, if this feed goes down, then I don't know what's going on. But I think we're good now. It's going to be a little bit less, the frame rate's going to be not as nice. But yeah. Okay. Looks like we're good here, Jay, if you want to put your camera on too.
Yeah, it's just being weird.
Okay.
Why am I getting a black box?
I'm not sure. All right, let's get
Give me a
this
second.
going.
I'll sort this out. Yeah, get the show going.
So I wanted to ask about. We asked about level design and inspiration for the layouts and like the way the game was designed. The first game in the series. If either of you want to speak to that.
Sorry. What was the question?
Oh, okay. The
wasn't-
inspirations for Legend of Grimrock. If you could just cover that.
Right. Yeah. Very obviously we were inspired by like a lot of the old school dungeon crawlers of the 80s and 90s. But I think like the primary source of inspiration for us was Dungeon Master, which I used to play on Atari ST back when I was still a kid. It was like a pretty huge deal back in the day. Like it was like most incredible immersive like role-playing game ever to exist in the days. And like a lot of the things for Legend of Grimrock were very heavily inspired by that specific game. It already had like this real-time action and grid-based movement and very big emphasis on puzzles as well. So that's like the most direct predecessor. But of course, then game series like Eye of the Beholder and others also had some influence on the games as well.
Yeah, awesome. I got a question from the chat here about. Well, the first one I got was Legend of Grimrock 3. When?
That's a good question.
A hard one.
Yeah.
I don't think we even know it.
Fair
Maybe
enough.
someday.
Yeah, maybe. That wasn't a no. So.
Yeah. It's not a no, but yeah, it's not under production at the moment.
All
at
right.
least.
So
it would be really hard to do any better than the two. We feel that we hit the pinnacle on that one.
Kind of nailed it. Awesome.
It's really hard to it's really hard to improve on it. Obviously, it can be improved. Everything can be improved, but it would be a massive thing, or we would have to scale it down some way.
Yeah. Do you think?
Yeah.
Speaking of like scale and stuff like that, do you think if you were starting Legend of Grimrock today, like that you would take the same approach with building the engine and like integrating lure and those toolwork, the framework that you end up going with, or would you do something different today?
Well, I suppose on hindsight, like things went pretty well. But I mean, if we could construct our own utopia, like then sure, like better tools and things like that would be much nicer for developing the games. Like we with the first game, for instance, we didn't develop the levels using the level editor that you, as if you go into the dungeon editor, we didn't have that kind of thing to develop Legend of Grimrock 1 with. We created the levels with text editor. So the layouts of the levels, they looked like maps from a old school roguelike game, like a NetHack. You know, you had like text characters describing the layout of the
So it was
dungeon,
like
and then there's like a bunch of script underneath that handle spawning of monsters and how the puzzle logic and such worked.
So it was
But
like
you know, it was.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, but it wasn't quite as terrible as it might sound on the surface, because you know, one of the core things with our own technology in the game was that the code and logic of the game is like instantly updatable, so that the game runs in one window, and then you have the editor where you edit the code or the scripts for the levels in another window, and then when you update the scripts, the game updates immediately without losing state. So you know, you can walk around in the dungeons, change something, and then the game immediately updates. So you don't have to like replay back up to a point to continue develop your game. It's always like up to date.
That's awesome.
You know, pretty much immediately without like compile time in between or stuff like that.
So you made your own engine from scratch for this, or did you start with something an existing base?
Yeah, basically from scratch. Petri had some bits and pieces of technology in his back pocket when we started, but majority of the tech was developed during the game development. And yeah, we had basically one programmer, Petri, who did the engine and game logic and everything surrounding it.
And that was one of the points for starting back in the day, because we wanted to do stuff we wanted to do. So obviously we could have gone with some commercial engine or other options, but Petri likes to do his own engine, so that's how we get the most mileage out of the guy. So that's one of the core things that we wanted to do with these projects. So we wanted to do stuff we loved.
Well, I did notice it's about a quarter the size of an equivalent game using like Unity or something, or a tenth the size of Unreal, which is pretty nice when you're trying to download it.
File size, right? Yeah.
It's nice. Yeah.
Thank
It's
you
nice to
very
have a
much.
tightly optimized engine that.
Sorry, 1 second. Just thank you very much, MacLad, for the $50 donation as well. I appreciate that. Havoc saved the interview.
Ooh.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. Sorry about that. I just had to interject.
Yeah, that's worthy interjection.
Yeah. And hey,
so
apparently you met a milestone from me there too, which is cool. Yeah, we've got a couple questions from ABC Mini User here. He's first asking, where did the enemy and character designs come from? So were those just something you made up, or did you like base on, you know, obviously some of them are inspired by existing creatures, or?
Yeah, obviously they are mostly custom things on the game, but I admit that we scroll through the D&D monster manuals and stuff like that, so to get some inspiration and to dodge those obvious designs. But yeah, they are all mostly stuff from my that tells about me. But yeah.
ABC is saying that he loved the mushroom and fungus enemy design.
Yeah, that's those herders. Those were actually. I think Doodle sounds probably the first or second meeting back at the days for we started the game. So scribble in the corner of a sketchbook, and that's where it started. The small one is really annoying that throws those poison balls.
Yeah, and one kind of like
All right, I think
interesting kind of limitation that we wanted to impose on the character design was that we didn't want the enemies to appear too intelligent, so we purposefully steered towards like very weird abstract monsters rather than intelligent humanoids, because the illusion of the game works much better when you don't like question the intelligence of the monsters, but rather that the monsters are just weird things that play by their own rules rather than trying to like imitate life or whatever. So
think about the.
Hang on, Mike.
You can think of them as like a small.
just go on without me if you can hear me. Are we all good now?
Don't see any.
So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
It seems like I don't know. I'm not sure what's happening. My internet's not normally this bad, so I have no idea why it's going on. X Mensa, thank you for the $10 donation as well. Apparently it's fine again, so we can continue. Sorry.
Okay.
All right.
Karen says Australian internet always sucks mana. Nice.
Sorry, I was listening to the conversation and then it started going crazy and I noticed that I was dropping frames again and now it's fine. So we'll just continue. I have no idea why this is happening.
Yeah, we can pretend nothing happened.
Yeah, I think that's the best.
Everything is good.
I sort of it got a bit bubbly for me. So where did we get to with that one, Jay?
Yeah, we're just talking about the art design of the characters and how how they came about. So I'm just reading through the questions here. So ABC has another question. Why the choice of mouse controls exclusively, like for attacking and inventory management and stuff, rather than having keyboard shortcuts?
There's like very many players who feel like that it would be much more convenient to use keyboard controls for attacking and such, and they are definitely right in that regard. But one thing or one reason why we intentionally went with mouse controls is that it limits your attacks and attacking speed. Are we online still? Okay, yeah.
The stream's still up.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. So yeah, we wanted there to be a limit on the players' attacking speed, and that the players need to like kind of like consider what attack are they going to do next, rather than if you have keyboard controls where you could kind of like mash all the attack buttons at the same time. That would take a lot of like timing gameplay and it would take some of the tactics out of the real-time combat away from the game, because you could just mash the buttons rather than trying to think ahead that okay, if I do these attacks in this order, I can get like most attacks done in a short period of time. So yeah, it's a bit of an annoying limitation and it feels quite old. I think there's good reasoning why we chose to do it that way.
That's kind of interesting. That's kind of interesting. I hadn't thought of it like as a physical limitation. Like if you think about the characters, what they're doing, they're swinging axes and stuff. But so you're kind of emulating that with, forcing the player to make specific keyboard inputs. I hadn't thought of it that way at all. Because usually when I'm playing a game, like, why is this not efficient? But
yeah. Big gameplay in Grimrock it's essentially a rhythm game. That includes your movement and the attacks and the spells. You're kind of like trying to get into a groove. Once you have a set of characters and their abilities and different skills and such, then what you're trying to do is you're trying to like get into the rhythm that's like most optimal for dealing damage to the creatures and dodging attacks.
Because I did notice that you had to set up a rhythm. Like you had to go, across from your swords person to your magic user to your, and just kind of get something that all the times would work out, if that makes sense. So
yeah.
Havoc saying in chat, that changes how you see the game completely. That's really cool, actually. I didn't think of it that way at all. It kind of just blew my mind with that comment.
Cool.
Mike's floating around in his OPL here. Let's see. Question from Havoc in chat here. Ask about the inspiration for the music.
Yeah.
Do you have any inspiration for the music, or just wanted to create something that felt good?
Yeah. Well, with regards to Legend of Grimrock 1, which I suppose is the context here. During the time, like Game of Thrones TV series was new, so we listened a lot to that theme, and we liked the theme. So there were some elements that we wanted to kind of like from that theme, without it being like outright stealing. We wanted to have like a clear solo instrument as a lead, mostly cello, and we also wanted to have like a catchy melody that could be easy to hum. So that was like basically the kind of like the starting idea that we gave to our composer, Arno Stakula Sarkunen, who regrettably passed away. Was it a year and a half ago? Yeah.
You actually on, Mike?
I am on. I'm just being very quiet.
Okay. I just got worried there.
Yeah, and we did have another donation from X Mensa, $10 donation. Thank you for that, X Mensa, as well. I wanted to ask a little bit about Grimrock II. I haven't actually played it yet. I've been saving it up, and turns out I should have played it. I didn't know we were doing the Grimrock series so soon on Save&Raid, so I hadn't scheduled it into my gameplay yet. But Grimrock 2 looks amazing. What was like the things that you learned making Grimrock 1 that you decided, or from playing Grimrock 1 that you decided needed to come in to Grimrock 2, and I'll just have to get spoiled on this.
I guess the biggest thing that we learned from the first one was to not to fight the tiling, if you know what I mean. So in the second one, we have open spaces like forests and deserts and stuff like that. So if we have a river going through the forest, we didn't do like a smooth it's tiling or has like short corners and stuff like that. So we not to fight it and do it on the gameplay first, and not do for realism that something like forests scene or open world feeling that we continue to do.
Yeah. We kind of realized that it's totally okay if the game looks like a video game as opposed to like a simulated reality or whatever.
Right.
But yeah. Also like on the gameplay system side, we also revamped a lot of like the statistics and rules that run the game. And actually, the development of the second game started like first we were just going to do some extra content for Legend of Grimrock 1, you know, some new set of levels or something like that. Like, but then, yeah. But then like repeatedly, like, you know, we bumped into these questions that, okay, the biggest things that we want to fix are not really things that you should fix in a DLC. Like, you know, we wanted to fix character skills and we wanted to change character classes and change how the game rules work a bit more than is typically done in a DLC. So we just figured out that, okay, maybe we shouldn't try to like limit ourselves. We should try to like put artificial limitations on what we want to rework or redo. So and it kind of very naturally slipped into like, you know, instead of doing a DLC, we're just gonna do an entire sequel. So we don't have to limit ourselves at all.
So
Yeah.
I've only played a little bit of Grimrock 2. I've just booted it up and played sort of the starting area. We're not there yet in the relay, but it struck me. It looks like Riven, the sequel to Myst. Was that any kind of inspiration, or like just where you start out on the island, you wash up ashore in the cage?
Well, I mean, there's definitely like similar parallels there. I think we all kind of like draw from the same pool of inspiration that, you know, if you want to have
One
like
second here. I'm just gonna.
mystery set in.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just gonna restart the stream. Havoc's gonna help us out here with the host. Hopefully, we can get a cleaner audio signal for the audience because my internet is just failing today. I apologize for this. Sorry about the technical issues.
Right, yeah, go for it.
So we'll do that right now.
What else do we have in chat? In the questions. From Matt D says, what are you guys working on right now? And do you have any cool things you have planned? Any future games or anything you can share with us? Feel free not to share stuff if it's still confidential, but
there are some prototyping things going on with a bunch of familiar faces from old things, but yeah, it's still like, well, very early days, so nothing to report on yet.
Yeah, we've all been doing some other stuff in the meantime, and so
yeah,
nothing really major to report yet.
no, I can see that. You know, making games is hard. You want to take a little bit of downtime, right? Between releases,
it's really hard.
And Matt D says, do you guys like or hate the sidestep dance found in dungeon crawlers? That's coming from we kind of figured out that you can sidestep around enemies and then not take hits. So you just step over, attack, step back.
Yeah, that's the dance, and that's how it was designed. So I guess we do not hate it.
Yeah, it's part of the game. Like it's like, say, dodging enemy projectiles in Doom or whatever. It's part of the game. But you know, in the first game, it was a bit too easy or a little bit too overpowered a tactic at places. So in the second game, some of the enemies have some like counter moves to some of the movement pattern that the player does. So the enemies are a bit more agile and reactive depending on the type of enemy. So you have to like change your tactic up a little bit more in the second game.
Interesting. I hope we get to it. Sorry,
yeah,
man.
I hope we get to it as well. In Grimrock 1, I felt like the crab enemy was sort of designed to try and combat the sidestepping, or try and make the sidestepping combat work a little different, just the way it moves.
Yeah, I think the crab had like the strafing move where it can move side to side without turning, I think. So yeah, we have more that kind of stuff in the second game, so that the enemies have like some special maneuvers depending on enemy type.
And thank you, some ghost dude, for the $5 donation as well. Oh, and foolproof fail. Thank you for the 404.
Nice. I have a question for me. Unless you want to butt in with one, Mike. It feels like I've been doing a lot of talking. So the lighting actually really struck me. The lighting in the game, it's really nice. It seems like it's kind of somehow a little bit like Doom 3's sort of stencil ray casting or ray tracing, whatever you call that lighting. But just the way, like when you see a fireball going across, it casts these like deep black shadows. How did the lighting come about? Did you start with like a prototype lighting and then just improve on it, or was it just this one sort of massive, monolithic lighting engine that you put in?
Yeah, like the.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the lighting technology itself isn't like super exotic. Like it does a bunch of basic stuff quite well. But what really helps in Grimrock's case, especially with the first game, is that the spaces are very small. So when you have like small tight spaces where you don't have to render a lot of stuff in the distance, like huge areas, so then you can kind of like amp up the quality of shadow maps, and you can have like cubic shadow maps as opposed to like just having spotlights with real-time shadow maps and stuff like that. So you have much more memory to spare when you have small spaces with just a few light sources.
Yeah. The lighting is surprisingly good, considering how simple it is. So it's just a couple of point lights on the walls, and there's a sort of a ambient light that has we can call it like a 3-directional lighting. So there's sort of a spots pointing out from different directions to give some direction for the light, but it's quite simplistic, and we can then like Antti said, as there's so few lights visible at the in each time, so we can just push the push the quality of the visible lights that we have on the scene.
It actually looks like something out of the demo scene. That's kind of what I was thinking when I was playing through, and like, this dynamic lighting that was going. Really cool.
Yeah. Petri has some background in demo scene stuff as well, and I've done some stuff in demo scene too, but not on the technical side, just some visuals and audio.
I was going to ask that next. Do you have any questions, or do you have anything you want to ask, Mike, or should I just keep going through the community questions?
Yeah, let's go with this question from Matt D about tips for making dungeon crawlers. So Matt D is saying he's been thinking about making a dungeon crawler, and he wonders if there's anything that you would have done differently, and what what you think worked best that you did implement, and if anything was a surprise. So, like 3 questions there.
Okay. Right. Well, one thing that kind of came as a surprise to us during development was that, like, if we think back to the original dungeon crawler games where you moved in first person in a grid, in those games the movement was usually immediate. So you snapped from one grid cell to another, usually quite immediately, and the monsters did the same as well. So they moved around in the map and they would like go ding, 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 very like discrete steps without any transition in between usually. So when we started working on our own dungeon crawler game fully in 3D, as opposed to like, you know, kind of like fake 2D graphics. So now in fully 3D, we wanted things to transition smoothly from one grid cell to another, so that, you know, the game would appear more fluid and so on. So it was that very simple thing, that very simple addition to the old formula added quite a bit of complication, because, you know, now we have things that are not in a very clear state. You know, when you have things that are moving from one grid cell to another, we need to resolve things like that. Okay, what happens if two kind of like creatures want to move into the same grid cell at a bit of a different time, like, you know, or if the player wants to move into a grid cell where a monster is about to move. The monster has already decided that, hey, I'm gonna move to that grid cell, but it has only played like 1 or 2 frames of its walking animation at that point in time. So it's not visually apparent that the monster is gonna end up there. How do we resolve this situation so that it feels responsive and snappy to the player? That thing alone kind of like caused a lot of gray hairs for us, and both of us have no hair left at
Well,
all
we'll
anymore.
see how it ended.
So yeah, that was like a surprisingly annoying thing that continued throughout the development.
Yeah, I bet it was.
But yeah,
There's
like,
a interesting question from ABC mini user that I'd like to for us to get at some point. But do continue if you have had something on that.
I do have 2 donations to read. Hairball, thank you for the $5 donation. Captain Purecard, thank you also for that $5 donation. Hairball says, for all the hardworking mods and streamers and stuff. So thank you, Hairball, for that as well.
But yeah, one very nice thing about making dungeon crawlers is that, you know, they are grid based, and that helps with a lot of things. Like I'm sure that juho agrees that creating like environment assets is fairly convenient, because, you know, you have very strict kind of like system that, okay, we are going to create wall blocks that are 3 meters by 3 meters and they are interchangeable. So it makes content creation very modular, and grids are very handy for things like AI, and also like if you want to do things like visibility optimizations for rendering, like if you want to cull away bits of the dungeon that you can't see, grid is a perfectly good data structure for it. So it's very it's a very handy kind of like way to structure your game if it's already in a grid. It makes a lot of technical stuff and a lot of like visual stuff as well quite easy to do.
One thing I'll just butt in here with, I love the smooth movement between the grid spaces. It just like that just blew me away when I was watching it, or when I started playing it. It's so smooth.
It's very effective.
Thank you for that.
Oh, cool.
And so all the gray hairs were worth it.
Yeah.
We did have you touched on you wanted to talk about the distribution platforms question that ABC Mini User asked. So ABC Mini
Yeah,
User asked about
yeah,
distribution platforms across so many platforms. How did you approach that?
yeah. So just wanted to highlight because that was a good topic, and I just checked that Grimrock 1 came out 10 years ago, quite spot on. We released in April 11th or something at 2012, so 10 years. So it was a completely different world back then, and for people aspiring to get their games on, have it maybe easier, but then again a bit harder time. Uh, back in then, Steam had sort of a gatekeepers, and it wasn't like a obvious thing that you could get in Steam, for example. So when we had the game in some relevantly good condition, we started banging drums, and we got contact from Steam, and obviously made it there. And after that, we made it to the GOG.com, and I think we are also in Humble Bundle and stuff like that. But it was a different world, and good, in a good way that we got in. We got a much more exposure on the front page. Back then, when you made it to the Steam front page, it was like a payday, and
Yeah.
Nowadays it's a lot more difficult. You get like hundreds of game probably by the hour. So to stand out is really difficult nowadays. But then again, you can easily put your game in. So it's a totally different game nowadays. But do not know which one is better.
Yeah, it's kind of both, isn't it? Because like I really like being able to just any game that somebody wants to make, you can put it out there. But on the other hand, like Steam has a glut of just like absolute crap shovelware on it now. Didn't used to be back in the
yeah. Obviously they have their filtering systems, but I'm so lazy that I really like someone to curate my stuff. So you know, but obviously
there's too many games out
that
there.
yeah, that obviously limits how much we can read stuff and find stuff. But then again, it's a good thing that a lot of people can get their like creative ideas on online, and maybe get a couple of bucks out of that, and make another one.
We have
Here,
so many good
we're-
questions in the chat, and I mean, I've got more of my own, but because of these technical issues, we've had too many delays to get to them all. But I think if we could pick out a couple of these and just get through them in the next 5 to 10 minutes, I'm happy to eat into my stream a little bit. But Foolproof Failed asked about in early development, did you guys consider procedural generation, like Dungeon Hack or other games in the genre have done in the past? Did you consider that?
I think we talked about it briefly, like a couple of times, but very very quickly we always just realized that okay, the kind of game we want to make is leaning very heavily to like to using puzzles and other content that is like notoriously difficult to do with procedural generation. So like I see procedural generation for a dungeon crawler like a completely valid approach, but the end product will be a very different game. So yeah, I think we kind of like very intentionally leaned on towards the strengths of our team, and we very quickly realized that, or it was immediate for us all along that we want to do content that is authored. But there are like very small bits and pieces of procedural generation in some of the technology of the game. We do things like we randomize some of the visuals and stuff like that, but that's like
Right.
just a tool mostly to make content creation more efficient.
Mm-hmm. And to follow on from that, I guess talking about the deliberate design approach that you took to get the levels designed, and instead of going with a procedural approach, there are some traps and pranks that you kind of pull on the player throughout the game. The one that comes to mind to me, one that I think was hilarious, was that endless hallway where you just sort of teleport seamlessly back to the start of the hall. And like, what's your favorite design sort of trick or prank that you pulled on the player?
Don't know about pranks per se, but what one kind of like trick that is only visible to the developer of the game that I kind of liked, which was sort of funny, is that, you know, in the first game, Legend of Grimrock 1, we didn't have any way for the level scripts to communicate with a script in a different level. So if you have a piece of script that does something in level 7, it can't affect anything in level 8. So there was a puzzle or a secret in the game where I wanted to pass on some information from one level to another. So the way I implemented it was that there's a hidden room in the corner of a map that's inaccessible to the player, and there's a trapdoor, and on a trapdoor there's like a rock or some other item. So when I want to pass on the information to the other level, I just scripted trapdoor to open, and the rock falls one level down to the next level. And then on the next level, there's a pressure plate, and the rock falls on the pressure plate and pushes it down. So that kind of like triggers the thing that I want to trigger in the other level.
That's amazing. I love it.
It's like setting up a Rube Goldberg machine within the game engine.
Yeah.
I have two more questions that I want to ask them in the chat. Jay, do you have any others before we go to those?
Let's go to those.
Okay. Lady Arion has asked, you've been credited with resurrecting the dungeon crawler genre. How does that make you feel?
Pretty good. I think.
Yeah, that's really cool. Something that we obviously didn't plan, but didn't expect, I suppose.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
yeah. We didn't expect really this to be like that big of a deal. We were very purposefully aiming towards a niche, but we were surprised that find out that, you know, for example, people who haven't played dungeon crawlers in their youth or their childhood, that people like that were like attracted to the game. So that was a nice surprise.
I'm a bit of a game collector, and I was wondering if you had ever, this is just a personal question from me, have you ever considered going with like Limited Run Games or some other producer to get a big box version of the game put out? Maybe as an anniversary edition or something?
We flirted with that idea. We would love to have something like a physical sitting on our shelf, but so far we haven't done it. But it would be cool.
That would be cool. I actually sent the DVD cover that you had posted. I think it might be part of the Steam download. I sent that off to the printer. I was hoping to have it done by today, but they got the order messed up.
Yeah, that tells that we like those physical things, and that was like a nod to that direction. So at least you could have something if you wanted. So, and you could print out those big maps and stuff like that, the manual and that we did in second one and stuff like that. So
I love browsing the manual.
I had some quite an effort on that, but it would have been so cool to have it in a physical form. But obviously, it's a
DVD cover art. That DVD cover art is sweet, by the way. I love that. So good.
Yeah, thanks.
I guess this will be the last question then. And what was your reaction when you found out that your game, the game you made years ago, was involved in a huge community charity event? This event. How did you
Obviously,
react
it's
to that?
super cool. I wasn't aware of this whole thing, but I think it was who contacted us from whatever direction, and obviously we're into it, and it's an honor. After all these years, people haven't forgot the game, and it's cool stuff that they are doing for the good, really good cause.
Yeah, we're very glad to have our games featured on these streams.
Thank you so much from all of us. We've got people in the chat saying say thank you and that they're loving the game and they've been enjoying watching it all day and seeing the puzzles get solved. So thank you very much for making the game, and thank you for joining us today for this chat. It's been awesome. Jay, did you have anything else you wanted to say before we sign off?
Yeah, just that I'm not a dungeon crawler player. I have like no history with the SSI Gold Box, but after we're done this event, I'm going to go back through and I'm going to play more of Grimrock 1 and 2 because I want to see more of them. I want to see what's out there. You guys have me hooked. So great job,
Cool.
and thanks for being here.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
thanks for featuring Grimrock.
Yeah, this has been an absolute delight to have a chat with you, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for that. We will continue. I will try and get my stream online again after we go offline here, so stick around, everybody, for that. And yeah, hopefully my internet issues are resolved now, and we should be fine. But yeah, stick around for that, everybody, and Save and Raid will continue in moments.
Right, Mike, thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much, Jay, for joining us. You've been awesome. I really appreciate it. I'm glad I wasn't in this alone with the internet problems I've been having.
We made it work. And Juho, Antti, thanks for coming out. Really appreciate talking to you guys.
No worries.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Our pleasure. Thank you.